Field Marshal Asim Munir. I have been saying this from day one, that the entire tamasha of the 5th Indo-Pakistan round has been orchestrated by one man called Mullah Asim Munir. Very simply put, he wanted an extension. The fact is, he had already gained one extension when he had jailed Imran Khan and brought in this puppet regime. He had twisted their tail to give him 2 years extension. Otherwise, he was to retire in October this year as per normal tenure. But he got himself first a 2-year extension, but then he said, "Ye dil mange more. I am not satisfied." Like General Ziaul Haq, like General Parvez Musharraf, he wanted to hang on for 10 to 11 years, a decade plus, and both of them had hung on for 10 to 11 years. General Ziaul Haq, General Parvez Musharraf. General Ziaul Haq was finally killed by exploding mangoes. Some says the CIA put it, some says some Shias in the Pakistan military put it. We don't know. But he died by exploding mangoes. And his successor, the Commando General, the very Chatur Commando General, the cat with 9 lives as he claimed, he was pushed out by his cabal of corps commanders who had had enough of him playing the chief and denying them their promotions, right? And as the distance between the chief and his present cohort of corps commanders increases, he increasingly gets divorced from the grassroots in his own army, and then they plan the coup and throw him out. So the point that remains to be seen is, what will become of Asim Munir? Will he, like Field Marshal Ayub Khan, who had also promoted himself Field Marshal for no rhyme or reason? No war was fought in his time at all, till after he had become a Field Marshal. And then he came out rather poorly in the 1965 war, and Bhutto and Yahya Khan edged him out when his use-by date was over. Because when you become the president, you lose touch with your military, which is your real power base. And then people began to plot coups there. General Asim Munir is not exactly hugely popular in the Pakistan military. We haven't seen a more divisive officer, we haven't seen a more polarizing officer than Asim Munir as far as the Pakistan army is concerned. There are people who hate his guts. But he has now earned himself not just an extension, he has earned himself a promotion. In India, the post of the Field Marshal is largely ceremonial. Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw was made the first Field Marshal in the Indian Army, but it was straight away made plain to everyone that this was just a ceremonial appointment, and they tried their level best to actually humiliate him, the bureaucracy. And the old man died, alone and forlorn in Ooty. And once he had passed away, they came to give him his arrears of pay and pension, etc. No pension because the Field Marshal serves for life. Field Marshal Cariappa, it was ceremonial because it was given more or less posthumously, or much after he had relinquished office. So in India, these are ceremonial. Is the Field Marshal a ceremonial post in Pakistan? I am not sure. Field Marshal Ayub Khan became the president of Pakistan. He directly ruled. Now the Pakistani army has become smart. They want to put a civilian facade up front and rule from behind, kick them from backstairs, play puppets, run puppets from Rawalpindi in Islamabad, jail any prime minister who is slightly inconvenient, who doesn't toe the line, and they steal an election. They stole the election which Imran Khan won. The last election they had stolen was at the time of the 1971 war, and they paid for it by losing half their country. Will history repeat itself? We don't know. It remains to be seen. But like I said, There are a number of people in Pakistan who do not like General, now Field Marshal Asim Munir. If at all somebody had to be promoted, this was largely an air war. It was 98 hours plus of an air war. And if Pakistan thought they had done well in the air war, which they have not, they have been beaten black and blue, then the person angling for a promotion should have been the air chief of the Pakistan army, who was absolutely funked when he heard that Asim Munir had, pushed the country towards a war with India. So was the Navy chief, had gone into a funk, because he had just, out of 8 submarines, 2 which were operational. And they had all told him that he had bitten off more than he could chew. He had led Pakistan up shit street. Disaster. Disaster. One of the aims of General, now Field Marshal Asim Munir, was to, the country was divided, the country was breaking apart. The Baluch, the Sindhis, the Pashtuns, they were all up in revolt. So were the Shias of Gilgit-Baltistan, up in revolts, up in arms. The economy was sinking, the country was collapsing, and therefore to rally the country behind the flag. This was the very, very clever ploy of Field Marshal Asim Munir, General, now Field Marshal Asim Munir. It's a double promotion. He's gotten himself an extension for life as per the British military system, which India and Pakistan have both inherited. Ours is a ceremonial post. There the post in Britain was much more meaningful. We had field marshals like Lord Auchinleigh, Field Marshal Wavell, etc., Alan Brooke. And they did meaningful jobs after they were promoted to Field Marshal. Field Marshals are also very powerful appointments in the erstwhile Soviet army and now in the present Russian army. But in India they are ceremonial. Are they ceremonial in Pakistan? I don't think so. I'm not at all sure on that. So what's his next move? Will he now try and stage a presidential election and become the president of Pakistan, or will he become the chief of the Imperial General Staff kind of a thing? Will he become the CDS equivalent of Pakistan and lord it over the 3 services, and then move to the president's post? He has his eyes firmly fixed on president. What about his subordinates? Are they happy if he steps aside and becomes a ceremonial president, or will he try to be a hands-on president? Time alone will solve this conundrum. There are so many people who hate him in Pakistan, and when the glue of conflict is gone, I'm not sure how long Pakistan can hold together. All this noise about having won the war, let me tell you once again, you can win the power point war, but it is very difficult to win the actual air war. You lost the actual air war. On the first day that this happened, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb made a very slick presentation, and he showed, boxes of Indian jet fighters, about 70 to 80, sometimes he made it 100, and about 40 Pakistani fighters, 50 Pakistani fighters rising up to face the Reichswaffen circus a la the First World War. When huge circuses of aircraft, 100, 200 strong used to fly, and there were air aces like Reichswaffen who shot 80 British and French planes down. It is claimed he is the biggest air ace in the world. But that was World War I, when you are flying triplanes and biplanes, man. So wake up, grow up, stop reading so many commando comics about World War I, and get to the reality of the 21st century warfare, air warfare. If you did so well on day 1, sir, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb, sir, how did you collapse on the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th day? How did your Air Force fail to prevent any single attack on the 9 terror camps, any single attack on the 11 out of the 12 air bases? How did you fail to protect your 4 radars? How did you fail to protect your command and control headquarters? How did you fail to protect your AWACS? How did the Indian Air Force have the run of your skies? How was the Pakistani Air Force driven towards the western portions, gave up a lot of its airspace? How did your HQ 9 and 16 surface to air missiles fail? How did your Chinese radars fail? They were just blown to smithereens. So don't give us this poppycock that you won the air war. And therefore the Pakistani air chief, much as he would want to be promoted to air marshal of the Air Force, like our own homegrown marshal of the Air Force, the redoubtable Arjan Singh, he also has no claim whatsoever. And the claim is even lesser for General Asim Munir, who has just had himself promoted by twisting the tail of Shahbaz Sharif and made himself field marshal of the Pakistan army. And he would try to claim that Field Marshal Ayub fought no war. I have fought a war. We didn't even start it. The real trailer might start now. And where, like Ayub Khan, you might come out very poorly. Very, very poorly. And let us not even talk about your whiskey guzzling Yahya Khan, who was the biggest disaster in history for the Pakistani army and the Pakistani state. Will Field Marshal Asim Munir, Mullah Asim Munir, lead Pakistan down that same road to disaster? Time alone will tell. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.